All right, we have confirmation that we are now streaming live on the YouTube channel at 9:08 a.m., bringing our meeting to order. We would like to start off. I don't think we need to do any introductions today. And we presently do not have anybody registered for public comment. So the first item on the agenda will be approval of the May minutes. Has anyone or has everyone had a chance to look at the May minutes and would like to make their corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
So Matt is making the motion to approve the May minutes. Will anyone second that motion?
I'll second it.
Rebecca is seconding the motion. Let's put up our hands for a no. Oh, yes.
I think we have to have discussion and changes first.
I thought we would have had to have the changes before voting it.
Are there any changes? Anybody have any changes?
Yeah, I'd like to change at the bottom of the second page. Michael Kelly's working on a rough draft for the equity, and it's mentioned individual relief plans. If we could change that from relief plans to just plans.
All right. Andrea has now joined us at 9:10 a.m. Good morning, Andrea. Matt just made a small change for the May minutes. Did anybody else have any changes they would like to add to the May minutes? Okay, wonderful. With the changes suggested, would anyone like to motion to approve those May minutes?
I'll approve it.
Rebecca is making the motion. For any seconds?
I'll second it.
James Stitt seconding the motion to approve with amendments. Shade Tree Commissioners, how do we feel about it? Yes? Thumbs up to approve. All thumbs up that I can see. Folks that are not on the screen, if you could just holler at us. No, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you, Nazim. And Jim?
I'm good.
All right, we're all good. Motion passed. On to number 2 with the reports. Who would like to start?
I can.
Lisa, if you would like to start, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Sure. I probably just want to report out, obviously, that we're dealing with lots of storm damage. We got hit with some kind of weather event over the weekend and then another rainfall on Monday. We're making headway. We've been working extended hours. We basically cleared pretty much anything that's down and blocking a street or an alleyway, and we've contracted with Davie Resource Group to help us pull trees off the houses because they have a crane, and we're basically at about 173 on ones right now. So we're just utilizing the help from the divisions around to help us to get stuff picked up off the street and such. But other than that, we had 2 pruner candidates that both passed the climbing test last week, and Chris Hornstein was able to get the mayor's office to expedite their requisition forms to have them hired. So they were both sent letters, offer letters to start, the background checks if they're interested in the positions. I'm really happy about that. And then Tuesday, the skilled labor position that we lost back in November is now just getting the requisition for approval. So they finally went ahead and posted that. So I'm looking forward to having our staff geared up. Mostly that's just it for storm reporting. We've been working on the social equity plan. We've wrapped that up, and I'm pretty confident that the subcommittee came up with a good list of locations, and Michael will get into that later, and probably lots of other stuff, but for the interest of time, I'll just pass and just let you know that's what we got going on.
Thank you, Lisa. I hear you with the storm damage. I think that when your Davie folks are done taking trees off of your houses, they're coming to campus to clean up here. So I feel your pain. Matt, did you want to go next? Did you have anything that you wanted to report from Tree Pittsburgh?
Sure, yeah, and just to piggyback on that, the storm damage is just devastating. City parks, street trees, old trees, as well as young trees. There are trees in Mellon Park I planted 5 or 6 years ago that were just thrashed by that storm. So a considerable amount of damage out there. It's going to take decades to recover, unfortunately. But it's a miracle that, from what I heard, nobody's been hurt. So that's some good news out of it. Tree Pittsburgh, we've been, having an interesting summer. We've had some dry periods already. So we've already really mobilized a lot of watering to occur up until that storm came. We typically don't start watering until July, so it's a little bit early, but the trees have certainly needed it. And we are, making progress on our relief plans in Lawrenceville, Manchester, and Hazelwood. So we're going to be, we're very excited now that COVID restrictions are lifted. We're hosting a number of volunteer tree care events, tree ID walks in those neighborhoods. So it's really great to be engaging with the public again, and looking forward to a busier fall planting season. At next month's meeting, we're going to have Danielle Crumrine, Executive Director of Tree Pittsburgh, in to talk, I'm sorry, not next month, at the August meeting, to talk about the Canopy Alliance that Tree Pittsburgh has formed to really help push tree planting goals and tree maintenance further here in the city. And that's all for my updates.
Thank you, Matt. Andrea or Rebecca, did either one of you guys have anything that you wanted to share?
Not much here other than it's capital budget request season. So putting in, I've already filled out a request for an annual tree planting budget for $100,000 to reoccur each year. So hopefully that will get funded again this year.
I don't have a whole lot. The Hazelwood Greenway project is getting underway, so goats should be showing up soon, which is pretty exciting. We've scoped out some good areas to do some restoration work and replanting. So yeah, that's starting soon.
Rebecca, can you update on the bucket truck?
Yeah, so last time I mentioned that we got $100,000 through a grant. We are, I believe Brandon is ordering it maybe this week or next week. So it should be coming in soon. We're also talking about electric pickup trucks for you, Lisa, at that location. So we're going to start looking into installing EV charging infrastructure at the forestry division. But that's underway. I don't know if I know there's some funding that's now been put into fleet electrification from the recovery funding. So I'm not sure if we still need the 150 from the Shade Tree Commission. I'll follow up with in the next meeting and find out. But yeah, you're getting it. It's coming.
Yay.
Yay, that's really awesome. I feel like we have to have a field trip around the bucket truck someday because, we've talked about it for a while.
I want to take a ride on
I want to ride on it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have rides.
it.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, you guys. Any other Shade Tree members want to share about their organizations or anything they want to add to this conversation?
I have an update from the utility arborist. So we have 3 projects going on right now, large ones that are coordination between utilities and city forestry. The first is the Maryland Avenue PWSA stormwater project. And we are having community meetings in the lead up to the rollout of that project. We've established tree protection guidelines. They've been passed soil specs. All of the tree planting plans have been reviewed. And there are a couple of things that we're going to be keeping a close eye on and monitoring in the future to see if we can potentially save some additional trees. For the PWSA small diameter water main replacements, I've been going on field visits with the engineers and the contractors to make sure that every tree on each of the streets is individually addressed and that there's work specifications for how they need to protect them and what they need to do for in-ground work to minimize root damage. There are a couple areas that are going to be very tricky where we have a lot of existing canopy, so we'll be monitoring that. But they've been very cooperative in terms of being willing to use hydrovac excavations and other non-damaging less damaging methods. And our last project we had going on was between DOMI and PLI and forestry, where we're working to develop some alternative sidewalk repair methods so that we don't have to engage in as much root pruning within the city or generate the cost to the residents of having them remove entire sections of sidewalks. Unfortunately, one of our best candidate trees for that split in half in the storm. So we'll be looking for a new pilot site for that. That is my update.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else want to share?
Hey, Kristen. Just a couple of things from the stormwater sort of policy front. The city planning and PWSA have been working on the stormwater code updates. Those revisions have all been sort of passed through legal and departmental reviews and will be going in front of Planning Commission for a briefing on June 29th, and then a public hearing in Planning Commission on July 13th. After that has been approved through Planning Commission, it will then go to City Council. So, and there is significant language in there now regarding preferences for green infrastructure and how trees and street tree pits fit into that sort of level of stormwater management that we're increasing in our code. The other thing is we have been working at PWSA on the stormwater fee outreach program to all the neighborhood and civic organizations, and have been meeting, doing our little dog and pony show at all of their regularly scheduled meetings. A lot of the folks in these meetings in these neighborhood groups are asking questions about, like, well, what can I do at my house and how can I, help mitigate these things? And a lot of questions about trees and tree planting and how, we can incorporate, stormwater tree pits into the neighborhoods with these groups and organizations are coming up there too. We're trying to track that, and we'll hopefully have a bit of a database and more information to provide the commission as well as the Tree Pittsburgh and such to help direct where the folks are most interested in these sorts of things. So those are the two big things. And then finally, on just sort of a personal note, I just want to give a shout out to the city forestry folks and their contractors. We had a tree that suddenly died off, a large tree in front of our house, and Lisa's crews came out and took care of it quite quickly and immediately. And I was quite surprised at how well things were cleaned up and everything was spotless, not a twig or a bit of sawdust left on the street or in the sidewalks anywhere. So kudos to those guys. Lisa, I don't know who it was, but they did a great job.
Okay, what street were you on?
That was on Lockhart.
Okay, I'll let them know. Yeah, we aim to please.
It's always nice to hear compliments.
Yeah.
Take all the compliments.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, James.
Anyone else? So I know I'm super excited. Our PWSA project is starting next week on campus. I don't know how many folks have been on campus, but we have a large expanse of Chapel Hill, which is the third best sled riding hill in Pittsburgh. But it is getting changed into, help with all of the stormwater issues that Chatham has clearly made for all of Western Pennsylvania. But that's, our big news, I guess, in the world of Chatham. And then like everybody else, we're cleaning up from Sunday's big storm on campus. We didn't have power for 2 days and lost a bunch of big old trees that were planted in like the 1940s. So we're a little bit upset about that, but that's all I have. So if no one else wants to share under the reports, we will move on to Canopy impacts. Moving on to Canopy impacts. Would anyone, Matt, go?
Yeah, so just starting the conversation, and there's a larger group working on this. There's a coalition, but specifically in Lawrenceville, most recently, there's been a lot of curb cuts happening that are permitted by DOMI, and those curb cuts are impacting existing street trees. So those street trees are being removed to accommodate the curb cut. So that is permanently removing a space that could accommodate a tree in the future. There's been issues with from the community members about notification of that tree being removed, and concerns, of pedestrian safety that go along with the additional curb cuts on residential streets. So I know that Lisa Chaffee and Michael Kelly have been working on this, but I was hoping that a DOMI representative would be on the call today, but hopefully this is something that the Shade Tree Commission can assist with in the future, is just getting a more proactive approach to protect these trees from curb cuts, and working on a better policy with DOMI.
I can add that I've already reached out to legal to have a meeting with Michael and DOMI and the legal department. The issue at hand is the access to private property rights. So that's the main issue, because we already do have trees as part of the review, because we do require those to be mitigated, and we post them, etc. We don't know what, as far as the type of access that they need to have. So that's some of the things that we're talking about with the legal department, but we'll be happy to report back what our findings are. I think we're scheduled for like the third week in July. But the biggest issue is access. We basically legally have to provide access to private property. We just don't know to that extent. That's all. So we're working on it though.
Awesome, thanks guys. Moving right along then, on to number 4 with our Shade Tree Trust Fund update.
Hi, it's Alicia. I'll take that one. So I wanted to report that we've talked back and forth a number of times about tracking alternative compliance money coming into the city from developments that can't meet our greening requirements. The Forestry Division, City Planning, and the Mayor's Office and the Department of Permits, Licensing, and Inspections are working to coordinate that better and track it through the system by project and make sure that it does in fact end up in the Shade Tree Trust Fund. So our new revenue from May includes a $25 deposit from a tree permit, $27,900 for an alternative compliance payment, and then $18,750 for an alternative compliance payment. So our new revenue for May until this point is $46,000 and some, and that brings our account total to $575,000, $575 $1,087.60. So we'll be, under old business, we'll be talking more about future expenditures, but to put those numbers out there for now.
That is exciting.
Alicia,
Go on, Matt.
so I had a question. Have the funds from the ad shelter revenues been deposited in our account since 2019?
So we're getting installment. It's we will be getting the retroactive payments in installments. I need to find out a little bit more what's hit the account so far. There were some deposits, but we need to find out where they came from. It's part of coordinating better. Good question.
Maybe we'll know in August, or maybe we'll know, a little bit later then. Is there any other comment or excitement over the Shade Tree Trust Fund update? I feel like
Good to hear about. Sorry, good to hear about the alternative compliance. Can you tell us what neighborhoods those are for?
Not at this time, but we'll be getting better with our record keeping.
Hi, Alicia. Are mitigation payments for removals as part of other work going to be included in that as well? Because I have a few check numbers we could probably track down.
Yeah, let's talk about that as we're ramping up with interdepartmental communication, coordination, and making sure that all the details are part of the files that we keep, and forestry has access to. Let's follow up on that. Those should be also in this account.
Yeah, those monies are deposited into that account. They're just probably not itemized out like we're doing for the alternative compliance, but we can do that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then this will get easier when we are electronic.
Yep.
Yes. Making strides.
awesome, thank you. We are now moving on to number 5, old business, which we have a lot to address. So the first one to get out of the way, hopefully, is the approval of April minutes. I don't know if anyone went back to last month's comments regarding what changes needed made. It's also something that if no one was able to do, I can make sure that I bring it up for August's email agenda, and that way I will also attach it to the email so you guys know to review it, and then we can bring it up of old business for August's meeting. Because I don't know, if doesn't seem as if anyone was able to get there.
Was the issue that we were missing what needed approved as far as the WPC? Because I did add that into this month's minutes. So it should be clarified.
Thank you, Derek.
The issue was who voted to approve Lisa's pruning expenditure. And so, Derek, I do see that you added to this minutes. So I will make a motion to approve April's minutes as amended.
Thank you, Matt, for making that motion and clarification. Also, Derek, would anyone like to second the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, James. James Stitt seconding the motion. Shade Tree commissioners in favor, say aye, raise your hand, thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye. Thumbs up from everybody raising their hands. If there are any nays, please shout it out or give a wave.
I'm abstaining because it's for my department.
Thank you. Lisa Chiaffi is abstaining. Motion has passed for April
We're
minutes.
voting on the minutes.
You broke up. I couldn't hear anything you said.
I just said, Lisa, we're voting on the minutes, not on the pruning.
But you both did abstain from the pruning. So motion has carried. Next item for old business will be the tree equity update. I believe, Lisa, you said Mr. Kelly will be sharing that.
That's correct.
You have the floor.
All right. So the Shade Tree Equity Subcommittee has met and reviewed the selection protocol. We had a very expansive data set that we used to go over this. It's I believe 12 categories overall. So we analyzed all of the different neighborhoods in the city based upon their eligibility for community development funds, for their ranking within the area deprivation index, which is a metric developed about 30 years ago by the Health Resources and Service Administration, and it's pegged to the most recent census data. And it's been it's been truthed out by an MD PhD from the University of Wisconsin named Amy Kind. So those are two of our big factors. And then we lagged that against all of the environmental conditions, access to parks, access to green space, areas with high elderly populations and high populations of children under the age of 5, which are two groups that are very susceptible to the negative health effects of air pollution, which trees help mitigate. And we have come up with a comprehensive ranking, and we are ready to announce, and the subcommittee had approved the first 10 neighborhoods for the program. And I have taken the liberty of writing up a very draft summary document of the process and criteria, which I will be submitting back to the subcommittee following this meeting if the overall commission is ready to move forward with this so that announcements can be made. The draft overview here is going to need work, of course. I mean, one person should not be in control of writing a document like this. So to read into the record, the neighborhoods that were put forward for phase 1 are California Kirkbride, Homewood West, Homewood South, Knoxville, Esplin, Homewood North, Beltshoover, Arlington Heights, Larimer, and Middle Hill. And I'm very excited to see this program move forward, and hopefully we can make some improvements there.
If I may add, Mike, that was beautiful. If I may add, mid-July, Lisa Chaffee and I, and most likely you, Mike, will be presenting to the mayor's chief of staff on this, and then iron out additional funding details. So coming soon, and a further update.
Great, and I suppose I should also add that we're in the process of analyzing the existing data for all of those neighborhoods. Allie Temple, the intern for the Shade Tree Commission, is helping us out on that. And one of the things we'll be breaking down, in addition to the vital statistics of the trees themselves, biodiversity and health, we're going to be culling out maintenance opportunities that the city can engage with immediately to improve the health and safety of the trees in these neighborhoods while we work on the community outreach approaches, so that we can have both some forward movement, a show of good faith, and a lead into the sustainable community developed aspect of this.
We're also waiting on the American Forest data to be released, and I've reported about that on to our subcommittee that there is also a social equity scorecard, and study that's been done by American Forest to share nationally to see how other cities and states rank as far as tree canopy. And it's taken into account tree canopy, race, and I think the last one was financial poverty. So as soon as we get that information too, from the looks of it, we're right on task with everything that we have. We just wanted to make sure that our information kind of was jiving with that so that we didn't have to redo anything, but it looks really good. And I think you guys are going to be really impressed with the tool that they came up with. So, and we'll share that. And also, Allie is helping us with Alicia to come up with the latest, greatest list of contacts for the neighborhood so that we can start scheduling some meetings and outreach. But I'm pretty excited. Michael's done a great job. There's been a lot of data sets and information that he's had to crunch and sort of recreate ways to be able to extrapolate data from it. And he did a great job. So I'm excited. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, all of you guys. This is really wonderful. Dr. Bay, not to put you on the spot, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Not used to finding these features while I'm on the phone. No, no. I just said this whole process was, not only enlightening for us and how to do these types of things. I just appreciate everyone's commitment, to making sure that we got this right. I said, I'm proud of this work, proud of this team. I just think in the next steps, I think this step that Allie and Alicia are working on is crucial. Let's do the community outreach and engagement prior to an announcement so that at least, there's no surprise in the neighborhoods. And I think that'll help with the success of the implementation. So, nice job, and looking forward to, the implementation phase now.
Thanks, Dr. Bay, and to echo everybody. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Was there anything else that wanted to be mentioned regarding the tree equity update, other than a big congratulations all around it and thank you?
I would just add too that that report is available on the Shade Tree Commission's website on pittsburghpa.gov. For anyone watching at home.
Thank you. All right, then we're going to move on to our next item under old business, and we're going to ask Mr. Kelly to excuse himself at this time.
Okay, if someone could text me and I'll rejoin at that time.
Thank you. Alicia, will you be able to, or Lisa, somebody, I don't think I have your digits, Mike.
I can do it. I'll do it.
All right. Awesome. Mike Kelly has left the meeting, and moving on to some other stuff. And Alicia, I believe the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. So I'd like to obtain the floor and make a motion for us to discuss funding a new position in the city's Department of Public Works Forestry Division. This is the position that we've discussed at meetings in the past. Is there a need to have a motion to discuss, or can I launch in?
I think it's new business, or you can just go ahead and then we'll entertain the motion.
Okay, thank you. So brief review is this position is an opportunity for us as a commission to have a dedicated full-time staffer. The job description has gone out over email a handful of times. The final name that we've selected with the input of our human resources department is the Shade Tree Commission Support Specialist. And this position, the nutshell is to assist with developing, implementing, and maintaining programs of the Shade Tree Commission in conjunction with the Department of Public Works. So again, this is the work that volunteers on the commission do, especially the chair currently and in the past. In this new position, we will be able to bring our priorities and ideas into reality with a clearer trajectory. You will all remember too, when we adopted our first version of a member handbook, the member duties, lists, descriptions, all added up to being a full-time position. So that is what this is. The coordination, it's become more and more clear that the coordination with different city departments, especially during contracting processes, takes time, effort, and a point person. Right now it's shared across many people and it needs to be a singular focus. So that's what this is. The salary evaluation from our human resources came back at 40,000, in a 40,000 range. So the motion I would like to make is to approve 45 to give us some wiggle room. Let's see. Should I pause there for further discussion? I definitely have more to say per usual.
If you want to pause for a second, I just wanted to say that we did have a lengthy discussion about this at, I believe, last month's meeting or the meeting before that, where Andrea and Rebecca and Matt and a bunch of folks made comments and gave some background. You know, Matt, obviously you're not in the city, but you know, Rebecca and Andrea were able to share, and Lisa, other departments and how they have one person that is just for that department. But does anyone else want to ask any questions or just further join this discussion?
Yeah, hey, Kristen,
I
Alicia,
have a question.
go ahead, Matt.
My first question is, does this position belong in the forestry division or should this be in the mayor's office? Since we're a mayor's commission, and in the past with previous administrations, we've had mostly staff support from the mayor's office.
It'll be in the forestry division.
Yeah, that was sort of my question relating to that too, is you know, where does this position actually live? And are there other commissions in the city that have similarly funded and fulfilled positions?
Rebecca, could you comment on that?
James wasn't at that meeting. So yeah, it makes total sense. And Alicia had also, or I think we'd sent early on the description of the Shade Tree Commission Support Specialist. So if anybody doesn't have that and needs it to be resent to them, please just, you know, shout out and it will come your way.
Yeah, just to add to that, most commissions have a staff person that's dedicated to them. So like city planning has, for example, there's like a historical review commission. There's a historical planner that's assigned to that commission. Same with zoning, planning commission. So there is precedence for it. It's usually coupled with, you know, other implementation activities too in that person's job description.
There's also instances where the position might be funded from, like a mayor's office might be funded under the mayor's budget, but they live at the actual departments.
Yeah, and so since this will be funded through our Shade Tree Trust Fund that lives within the Department of Public Works, so this position too will live there.
Just, you know, for comparison, some of these other positions, how are those other positions funded?
We can follow up on getting you that information, Brian.
Yeah, that's a good question, being that most of the other commissions don't have, you know, sort of a dedicated trust fund and a source of revenue like we do. So it's a little different, but just want to make sure we're not crossing any lines that we don't need to.
So maybe I could comment on the internal review process to date and what would be next upon approval today. So we have forestry and the mayor's office together have submitted all of the paperwork to our human resources department to come up with the working conditions, salary evaluation, and approve the job description and title. The next steps are to submit a classification letter to the Civil Service Commission at the city. And from there, we can post this position publicly on pghjobs.net, the city's accessible, transparent hiring portal. There is opportunity if anyone here is interested in being part of the interview panel whenever we get applicants. That is, I will put that out there now. You can, follow up, or I can follow up. But this has been reviewed by, of course, Lisa Chaffee, as well as the acting director of the Department of Public Works, the assistant director of the Department of Public Works, the city's chief operating officer, and chief of staff in the mayor's office. So it has run through, some significant internal review, and here we are.
And thank you very much, Leisha. Would anyone like to be a part of the interview process? Like she said, you can reach out afterwards, or you can say it now, so you will forever be recorded. Rebecca, you would like to be?
Sure.
Do we need to approve this position before we discuss an interview process?
That's all part of the discussion. So I'm not going to make the motion just yet, because I wanted to bring up one other piece and kind of make a double motion. So in evaluating this position's salary, juxtaposed with our utility arborist salary at this point, which is $45,607. I would also like to discuss or make a motion to approve raising that an amount not to exceed $10,000. So that would be for this current year and for 2022, until that is taken over and funded through the city's operating budget. So the motions I would like to make is an amount not to exceed $45,000 for a new position within DPW, the Shade Tree Commission Support Specialist. That will be a recurring expense out of our trust fund annually, as well as an amount not to exceed $10,000 to raise the salary for the arborist utility coordinator for this and next year.
So can I just clarify? The utility arborist is after 2 years going to be rolled up into DPW's budget, but the Shade Tree Commission Specialist would not be.
Yes, exactly that.
Well, for right now, I mean, I guess there's probably possibility going forward at some point we could ask for it, but right now it's just for the Shade Tree Commission to fund.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve that.
Do we ask questions now or after the motion?
I think we asked questions before.
So I guess, so for clarification, we would be supporting both of those positions for 1 or 2 years going forward before the utility position rolls into the city budget.
Could I make a real quick suggestion? Maybe we make that two motions. One motion regards the new position, one motion regards utility arborist position. That way it is easier.
That makes sense. Okay, so I'll repeat the first one. I have this written out because I've been stuttering, getting too excited about it. The first, I would like to move to approve an amount not to exceed $45,000 works position, Shade Tree Commission support as a annually.
Sorry, Lisa, you need to mute. Sorry, Alicia, you're gonna have to start again.
I'm muted.
Okay, I move. I move to approve an amount not to exceed $45,000 for a new position for a dedicated full-time staffer for the Shade Tree Commission to live within the Department of Public Works and be called the Shade Tree Commission Support Specialist. This would be a recurring expense annually out of our Shade Tree Trust Fund.
So we still have time for questions, right?
It's a motion for discussion, right? I mean, that's what it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, you move, get a second, and then discuss, and then we'll vote if after discussion, if there are no changes.
So then Alicia made the movement. Rebecca's making the motion, and now we need it second, and then we can further discuss.
A second.
Andrea is seconding, and now we can further discuss. Matter.
Yeah, so I support the need for a position. I'm wondering if the new administration that's coming in next year would be willing to support this financially. And I'm also very concerned that our annual income at the Shade Tree Commission is $100,000. And so we already have the utility arborist position that takes about half of that. This would take the remaining half. The alternative compliance funds, from my understanding, cannot be spent on staff like this. And there's a chance that the new administration could direct those alternative compliance funds to another resource. So we would be spending our 100% of our budget on 2 staff people.
Yeah, so as I reported under the Shade Tree Trust Fund update, we have received $46,675 from alternative compliance funds within the last month. So you are right that our dedicated funding is through the ad shelter, the transit shelter contract the city holds with Gateway Outdoor Advertising. However, we have much more money than that in our account right now, and we have forecasted for more than $100,000 to enter in every year.
But my understanding is that alternative compliance money needs to be spent on planting trees in those neighborhoods and not on staff resources and things like that.
So I just want to say that, and we can go back in the minutes and look at this. There was a policy before where we were sending out letters to notify individual neighborhood groups that there was funding available through alternative compliance. And that really wasn't productive. So we discussed being able to do things other than tree planting, if it went to tree pruning or, tree removal to support new tree planting, and it could be done citywide, so that we have more discretion over that. So, we can revisit that if you want to. And obviously, we're going to concentrate. I thought with the new social equity plan, we would be concentrating our efforts in those highest, prioritized neighborhoods. So that would take money away from, all the alternative compliance funds that came in for specific neighborhoods. I think that just gives us more flexibility, and we had that discussion some time ago. I also feel that the new administration coming in is going to be supportive of our tree planting efforts. So I would lobby that they would not try to, wish to reallocate those funds. And then lastly, next in January, I'm already would be anticipating Mike rolling into the 2023 budget. So it's really, that's something that's going to happen in 2023. So it would just be supporting this position with the Shade Tree Commission specialist. And for now, I think we just need to get them on board. In my opinion, it would be good to have them on board. I think there's opportunity through probably future funding opportunities for folks in our city that would want to support a position like that for us, so that we would have ongoing support for these programs. So that's what I would say. But I hear where you're coming from, Matt.
The parameters of the resolution that established the Shade Tree Trust Fund in 1998 and was approved, re-upped in 2020. The parameters are any and all activities related to the planting and promotion of trees. So the internal policy that we had set, aspiring to commit alternative compliance money to the neighborhoods this came from. That is an internal policy, and we're, you know better than anyone, Matt, reviewing that next week at our handbook part 2 meeting.
I think that's a big problem with the alternative compliance, is that there is no written policy about it. And so a new planning director could come in January and say alternative compliance is no longer going to the Shade Tree Trust Fund. So I think there's a little bit of,
We are in June right now, and I'm accepting of all of the variables that may come in the future, including that we could find matching or creative funding to supplement this and not do it forever out of the trust fund. I'd like to have this set up though, and then be able to pursue those options.
If I could, I don't know how many remember, I believe it was 3 years ago at one of our priorities discussions in the fall, which Marty led. And it was regarding alternative compliance and funds that hadn't been used. And the funds that were not used were actually put to the bucket truck. And that is in one of our priorities and meeting minute discussions. So there is a bit of a past precedent, I guess, regarding using those funds in the alternative funds alternatively.
And if I could add, part of figuring that out is because we haven't figured that out because we do not have a dedicated singular staff person for the Shade Tree Commission. We can ask that person to do this. So many things have been stalled because we all have a hand in them and there has not been a singular focus.
I also want to say too that with I think that the social equity plan, for us to implement that, I really, unless some other major funding source comes through, we'll be using the Shade Tree Trust funds to do that. So I'm not sure. I would go nose to nose with any new planning director to fight for that money to come back through the Shade Tree Trust Fund. So, I mean, anything can happen, but I would assure you that I would lobby hard for the reasons why it should stay where it is.
And if I could add to that, Lisa, it's not up to the planning director or the administration. Resolutions go before a 9-member body that is Pittsburgh City Council. And it's not up to one person to come in and wipe out or adjust what we've been up to thus far. There are checks and balances, as we are well aware of and have gotten caught in plenty of times.
Right. I just mean that if it did get before council, I would, regardless of who brings it there, I would support that it stay with where it's at.
Does the position have a dedicated amount of time? So like, are we, is it a 1-year position and then we could stop and review it if we don't have funding, say like the next year, or are we saying like we'll do this for at least 3 years?
Like similar to Mike Kelly, where, that way, if, like you're saying, we don't have the money, then it's not something that has to happen and we'll still have the money to actually plant trees.
Yeah. Does that matter? I mean, I feel like we could at least try it out for 1 year and revisit it next year.
Yeah, along those lines, I think the other question I have too is, if this technically is a, DPW employee, and Shade Tree Commission funds are fully funding it for the full salary. I mean, are we going to have 100% commitment of this person's time to Shade Tree Commission business, or can DPW pull them off and assign other work as needed?
I mean, just to say for myself, I can't imagine how much work that I've been putting in to this, outside, like, because I can't obviously do it while I'm at work. Chatham is all encompassing. So I know probably a week I'm doing at least 4 hours.
Yeah, I have no doubt and totally agree. There is a full need for someone to do this. And that I think, there's the definite possibility of keeping them plenty busy with just our work. But if, DPW is sort of their manager, other work gets assigned when needs to be done. And I just want to, I'm just curious how how we feel about that. Is that, something that we're prepared for? And
James, were you able to read the job description that was sent out and then to you personally?
some of it, I don't remember the whole thing, but I read it when you guys first sent it, and I'm just trying to recall now, but I don't have it up in front of me.
I'd like to add that that the job description in the Shade Tree Trust Fund legislation specifically says that it has to be for tree related, support, basically, any of the funds that's spent. I think that the person could be kept busy 24/7, especially with this new social equity plan. I mean, we're using interns now to help us with the data. There's going to be lots of outreach. There's going to be bids that may come out of this. There's going to be lots of communication and coordination. We're going to be trying to, leverage money, submit, requests for other tree planting programs, coordinating with departments. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that is directly related to what we're trying to do through the social equity plan. And like I said, I haven't really come across any instance where a department has taken a staff person away from something that, they were, hired to do. I mean, I could see, like where we had this major emergency, I couldn't say that person wouldn't be helping us field phone calls and things like that. And, when we have a storm event or something like that, but I don't really see that person leaving the job at hand to go take care of something that's unrelated to their position. So that's my 2 cents.
And I think piggybacking that, the position's not housed in the union. So, with that being said, I'm in the union, so I can do whatever my boss wants me to. But, with this position not being in the union, they're not going to be able to do the labor, the emergency work, tree removals and stuff like that I think everybody's thinking they might get lent to.
This position reports directly to the city forester, yeah. Okay.
So just piggybacking on James' comments about whether this position is for supporting the shade tree of full-time or forestry, looking at the job description, there is a section that is shade tree specific, but then there are other sections that are forestry specific with the job description. And I think
Matt, may I encourage you to think critically about the work that our priorities result in. The Shade Tree Commission does not operate in a silo. So much of our priorities and actions are interrelated or totally tied up in the forestry division. So making a distinction there makes no sense to me.
So to finish my thought, the Shade Tree Commission's biggest priority moving forward is moving into more equity in regards to the urban forest. So I don't see any mention of equity in the job description. It would be great to really increase that scope of this person's potential work.
Thank you, Matt, for adding that to the job description, because that is a big thing going forward and what we've been doing for the past year. And having that be a focus in there. Alicia, would that be something that we could have added in?
I can update that today. Yeah. So perhaps I can make an updated motion with the concern that Matt has raised.
Yes. So with the addition of adding that to the job description, make the motion and then vote. Second and then vote. Otherwise, we're going to have to table it and move on because it is 10:07.
I ask one further question just for clarification. So as I believe, Lisa, you said the utility position would roll into the city budget in 2023?
That's correct.
Okay.
Has there been any talk with DPW about doing the same sort of scenario with this position where we fund it for the first 2 years and that, they begin to make plans to add it to their budget after that?
DPW is trying to fund us extra pruners and support on the ground kind of thing versus a position like this. I mean, it's not something that we couldn't talk with them about more, but if they were going to fund additional positions, it's going to be for support on the ground.
So my updated motion, I move for the Shade Tree Commission to approve the expenditure of an amount not to exceed $45,000 for a new DPW position in forestry called the Shade Tree Commission Support Specialist as a recurring expense from the Shade Tree Trust Fund. And I will update that to include updating the job description to include the equity focus that we have started to apply.
Thank you, Alicia. Do I have a motion to second?
I'll second it.
Rebecca is seconding Alicia's motion.
One quick comment, Alicia, you said recurring expense. How long is this recurring? Multiple years?
Would you like to put a time parameter on it?
Yeah, I would be more comfortable, voting for this if we had a definite sort of term that this would be funded, so that then we could have a little more force in getting, put into the regular DPW budgets as opposed to us having to fulfill it every year.
Do we have a like a forecast that identifies the funds that will be spent year over year, including this position?
Yes.
We do. Is that something that could be shared? Or has it been and I'm just missing it somewhere?
Parts of it have been shared. Like I mentioned in the trust fund update, we are working on getting it to be more detailed and having line items by description. Our current amount in the Shade Tree Trust Fund is $575,000. 87, I'm not used to numbers this big, and 60 cents. We are still owed, Matt brought up the retroactive money from the transit shelter contract. We are still owed a portion of that from 2020 and 2019.
I'm sorry, Alicia, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
We also have encumbered sort of the money set aside for the bucket truck, which I believe is between 150 or 60,000. Then we also have $50,000, up to $50,000 for the RFP that was just awarded for the Heritage Tree Program. We also have the information on Michael's position that's going to be budgeted out of there till 2020, this year in 2022 or 2023, I'm sorry. So that's kind of the things that are encumbered. So you can, subtract out another probably close to 300,000, something like that to get the real number. But that's been part of the issue is reporting this stuff because it changes constantly based upon the money that's coming in to the account. So, but that's just to kind of give you an idea. So we're still sitting on probably $300,000 to $400,000 with all that paid out, going out.
And this person in this position would be in charge of presenting an accurate, updated, detailed financial report on a monthly basis to the commission and to field all of these questions and follow up on getting the specific answers.
All right, it is 10:12. If we don't take the vote now, this will be tabled. We have to move on to the Heritage Tree RFP.
I make the motion that I initially made with an amendment to update the job description and to slap a 3-year parameter on this for review at that time. Please.
Rebecca, will you also
I'll second it.
second this motion with the additions and changes? Shade Tree Commissioners, let's take a vote. I'm going to ask everyone individually, yes, no, abstain, and then we'll move on. On my screen, we're going to start with Andrea. Do you support, or do you want to abstain or say no?
No, I fully support it.
Andrea supports. Brian Waliniak.
Yes.
Yes. Jim Barry.
I think additional details are needed, so I'm going to abstain or vote no, either or.
Pick one, please.
No.
Jim Barry with the no. Rebecca Kiernan.
Yes.
Matt Erb.
No.
Alicia Carberry.
Yes.
James Stitt.
I'm a no on this until we see the further details on the budget and the job description revisions.
All right. That is 3 no's. Everyone else is yes. Lisa Chiaffi.
Yes.
Mazine.
Yes.
Other than myself, have I missed any Shade Tree Commission members that are able to vote? Nope. We have 3 votes for no, including myself being a yes. So I don't, thank you, Derek. So that would make majority of it passing. Motion has passed. Any comments?
I will follow up within the next week with the next steps, the updated job description, and I can follow up with the individual emails that I have sent to James, Brian, and Jim to address further concerns. And Matt.
Thank you. Would you now like to share about the Heritage RFP?
Did we, wait, just to go back, because we separated Alicia's 2 motions, do we need to do anything with the $10,000 increase for the arborist?
Thank you.
If there is time, I would like to make that motion. So that one is, I move to approve an amount not to exceed $10,000 per year for 2021 and 2022, total of $20,000, to raise the arborist utility coordination salary at an amount to be determined but reported back higher than the current rate of $45,607. This position is currently held by Mike Kelly, who we asked to leave the call while we discussed.
Alicia is making the motion. Does anybody want to second the motion?
I'll second it.
Rebecca Kiernan seconding the motion. We'll now move to vote unless there's any discussion, further discussion.
Just one question. Has the DPW budget folks also agreed that there should be an increase on this? Just to be clear. Okay.
I just want to say, James, that will be revamped when we go full blown into the DPW budget, and will probably be increased more for the national average rate for what it is.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I completely agree with that this is sort of off scale with what it should be. Okay, that answers that. The only other thing, just a sort of procedural thing here, I'm not sure that, I mean, we asked Mike to sort of step out of the meeting, but we are streaming live on YouTube, so it's not like he couldn't be watching.
Right, but he's not able to be part of the discussion.
But I guarantee you he's not doing that.
Just something to think about if, we ever do this again.
Thanks, James. Remind me if we ever do this again, because I can't remember that long.
Hopefully we'll be back to in-person meetings soon, but I don't know how you get around that if we have to stream these meetings, so.
All right, so we are going to take that to vote. Gonna do it the same way we just did it, starting this time with Brian W. Yes, no, or abstain?
Yes.
Thank you, Brian. Jim, Barry. Thumbs up. Rebecca Kiernan.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Erb.
Yes.
Thank you. Alicia.
Yes.
James Stitt.
Yes, please.
Andrea Ketzel.
Yes.
Lisa Chiaffi.
Yes.
Nazine.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Motion is passed. And thank you, James, for reminding. Someone has to keep me on track. All right, 10:18, moving on to the RFP Heritage Tree update.
Perfect. If you need to invite Mike to
Yes.
rejoin.
Thank you. You guys, awesome. Lisa, can you text Michael Kelly?
Yep.
Sure. So the update on the significant tree registry is the briefest of synopsis. This project went through a competitive bidding process at the city. The RFP was created and reviewed by me, Nazine, James, Jim, and Lisa, with input from others. The Department of Public Works and the mayor's office met this past week with the city's chief solicitor and assistant solicitor to address outstanding concerns, and were handed a Friday, June 25th hard deadline to have this contract completed. I mentioned that the chief solicitor was part of that. The city's chief operating officer and the mayor's chief of staff are aware of this deadline. In the meantime, we will be submitting a resolution to City Council to approve the pending contract.
Awesome. Thank you. That is exciting to hear.
Well, was that a thumbs up from Matt?
Yeah, that's exciting. Thank you.
That's really exciting. Matt, will you share with Danielle, or has you, Lisa, already?
I can share with Danielle.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then she'll be at August's meeting reporting on the Tree Canopy Alliance update also. Any further conversation regarding the Heritage Tree RFP? Hi, Mike Kelly. Thanks for coming back.
I will say there may need to be revisions to that because there were deadlines that were based on the contract being awarded, I think 2 months ago. So we'll have to revisit that at some point.
That'll be part of the contract negotiation process, updating the scope of work.
I just want to throw out to anybody, probably, I guess most of you guys are part of the core groups here, but if you're, ever interested in being a part of something, just let someone know. And we have lots of work to share throughout the commission until we, have more help.
And Kristen, just a comment. I've been on other state committees in the past where we've had multiple employees, and we've always had a dedicated subcommittee that kind of led that, whether it was for raises, reviews, negotiations with DPW. So I would highly recommend the Shade Tree Commission look into forming a employee subcommittee.
That's a great suggestion, Matt. And I saw James Stitt throw up some thumbs up there. If that interests anybody to be a part of that subcommittee, maybe you guys want to throw up some more thumbs into this conversation, and we can have a rolling subcommittee regarding that. Matt, James, Rebecca, would you guys want to be a part of that? Matt shakes his head no.
I'll be a part of that.
That would be lovely, James. Since it's you and Rebecca only right now, would you mind being the chair of that subcommittee? Or Rebecca, would you want to be that chair of that subcommittee?
I don't want to take anything away from you there, Rebecca, so
James, you said it first.
That would be really lovely, and
Yeah.
we'll be sure to invite all of the folks that weren't at today's meeting to see if they would like to also help out with that ongoing subcommittee.
Yeah, I think, I agree with Matt. I think it's important for us to have that direct oversight that we can, have some control.
Nazine, would that be something that would interest you?
Not
you on.
currently.
Okay.
Thanks.
If I could add too, perhaps that could be an extension of the discussion scheduled for next Thursday at 10 a.m. on the internal processes to update the handbook.
That's yeah, cool. Thank you.
Kristen, Matt, Jim Barry, Rebecca, Andrea, Josiah Gilliam in the mayor's office, Lisa, Marcel Newman in Public Works are all to be part of that meeting. So
sweet.
As a suggestion for a starting venue.
I don't have an invite or anything for that. If you've sent it, please send it again.
Yeah, I think it was like, in May, the right immediately after the meeting that all of those conversations were set down again. So we'll be sure to resend you that invitation for next Friday or next week's member handbook meeting.
It's from a Kinsey. I don't know who
I
Kinsey
think
is, but
from Kinsey's account because Alicia set it up from her account, and it's a Teams meeting if I believe correctly.
It's a Teams meeting. In order to have the call-in option, I had to use my boss's license. So she will not be part of the meeting, but it'll be through her license. Or video or phone call, plenty of ways to join.
Awesome. Closing out old business, we have a few minutes left for new business. Would anyone care to share any new business? I'm going to take that as a no from all of the crickets and birds chirping. So,
Kristen, I could give just a sentence or two about plans for Tree Vitalize, if that's helpful.
Jeff, please share.
Okay. Yeah, so planning is underway for fall already. Matt Urban, our community forester here at WPC, already doing site assessments based on the Tree Vitalize applications. We have record interest this fall, so that's exciting. I'm going to keep trying to raise enough money to honor as many of them as we can, but we do have a decent pot of funding for the fall. So if anybody's interested in applying for the spring, that won't be due until late fall, but feel free to direct anybody who's interested to me. I'm happy to talk to them about the process, and I'm specifically, we definitely want to direct funding towards the tree equity plan communities. So we'll keep that connected and happy to do any join in on any of the community outreach. So yeah, so if anybody's interested in Tree Vitalize, just give me a shout.
So I know Mount Washington CDC was interested in Tree Vitalize. Can I just share with them your email address?
Yeah, absolutely. They've been a repeat applicant, but yeah, absolutely.
Cool, thank you. Anybody else have any comments?
I just want to put a reminder out there that we don't meet in July, just so everybody's not looking for the link.
Thank you. We do not meet in July, though we do have plenty of subcommittee meetings. It does seem during that month. And thanks to everybody that ended up coming late to the meeting. Jeff, I know you didn't come during the public comment period. So, thank you for being able to get here. Andrea had technical difficulties. I think there was a couple of us, Derek, that came a couple of minutes late. So thanks, guys. It's really great that we were able to get as many folks here as we did in the middle of summer after the year of the pandemic. So if there is no other comment or, suggestions, I think we can see if anybody wants to adjourn this meeting.
I'll move.
Andrea is moving to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Andrea, thank you, James.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Ally, Derek, the whole gambit. Have a good one, guys.